Hi, my name's Shawn Shaler. Thanks for laughing at my name, Chris. That makes me feel good. And that is my friend Chris Ford, a.k.a. The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame. And then today we have a special guest on our episode, and you might recognize him from one guest appearance before. That's Theo Brown, up into, I guess he's on my right side. Theo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm back from my yearly special guest. I think it was about, a year ago that we...
Well, that was your contract, as one guest appearance per year. That's what I wrote it up for, at least.
My contract, yeah. So, but yeah, I'm doing good. What are we, a year and a half into the pandy situation? So I've just been working from home, not doing anything other than that. Just
How is
staying.
People are taking pictures of their kids going to school and stuff. I'm like, school 2020? Is that time?
Exactly. I made if you can't see, but behind me, I made a makeshift book collection, trying to live up to Chris's.
I think you should just hold them all while you're talking, just right up here.
I thought about that.
Yeah.
I might do that. Yeah.
I mean, at least your makeshift collection makes sense. All I've got is Harry Potter and some dragons back there.
Well, the thing is, this is technically one of 3 backdrops I could use. I now have like a whole
for different moods
diorama going on of different action figures over here, and then the poster I have right there.
When he's in a dark and brooding mood, he sits by the bat mantle.
That's true, yeah.
One of my favorite Avatar of the Last Podcaster's moments this year has been when Chris had the post symptoms after his shot, and he was wrapped in like 6 blankets. That should be the backdrop for the rest of the shows for the rest of the year.
I'm really flattered. I actually thought that even if people watched us on YouTube, that they probably were actually watching us. Like, it's just a venue for audio. I do that sometimes, so I'm just flattered to hear that you watch us.
Hey, I watch. Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with us again, and for reaching out to us about a certain pertinent fan theory or two that we're going to talk about today. But before we get to those, I still also, Theo, you're very special, but I still feel like I have to ask Chris how Chris is doing. Chris, what she got going on this week?
Doing good. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is back. Been watching some Ted Lasso. Been delving into other hobbies, like repainting the action figures. For some reason, I'm really into that now. And then I'll probably just quit midway through because I have commitment issues, apparently. Except for with my wife. We'll be married 11 years tomorrow. Yeah?
No kidding.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That is an immense length of time in the year 2021.
A third of my life, I have been married. I got married very early, I feel.
Do you know what the date is that you'll have known her for half of your life? I kind of have that date in my head.
Let's see. I would be 36. So in 3 years. Yeah, 3 years.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Wow. That's insane.
Thank you.
And just foreshadow report. Am I allowed to say that? No, I can't do that. No.
I think that's taken.
It is, and I hope everybody knows where that comes from. But Chris and I are going to do like a soft review of Ted Lasso season 1 in a couple weeks, because we've been talking about that a lot. So keep your eyes.
And also, we're trying to just extend the time between the end of Korra, because we'll be midway through season 3 pretty soon.
After Korra, we have to decide what to do, and we don't want to make decisions because that's hard. So we're just going to procrastinate.
I just got reminded of something that I was going to type up to Shawn. I had a huge paragraph, and I'm going to state it real quick because I know Shawn has a lot of gripes with Zaheer and his.
No, I didn't put a slide in for this. We can't talk about it.
Okay. No,
just kidding. Go ahead.
All right. So it just popped into my head. Just
There's never a bad time to criticize Shawn's criticisms.
I'm not criticizing the criticism. It's just it was interesting how you just would not let it go. But I will say this. I am going to agree with partially the voice acting, just a little bit. There was something you had said about the Zaheer voice acting thing, where it was just a little too well kept. Part of me kind of agrees with that, just a little bit, but at the same time, he is kind of the leader of the Red Lotus, and there's also the Deus Ex Machinas of him just showing up and knowing where each prison cell is and those types of things. But so I'm gonna side with Chris on that one, because maybe there has to be some type of inside Red Lotus person somewhere giving them something. And then the one thing I wanted to say was that I think the martial arts and his airbending kind of goes hand in hand. So that one you were wrong about that one.
Oh yeah. And also, one thing I didn't mention before, because I brought up the broomstick analogy, and then I started to think about Jackie Chan and how in like every single Jackie Chan movie, he takes some inanimate object and he makes it an extension of himself. Like no matter what it is, like it's amazing to watch him, do what he does, and like because he is a master, right? And a master can make a weapon of anything.
Yeah. So,
all right. So shut up, Shawn, and we'll just, just keep going.
Let me see if I can find. I think I can probably mute you individually. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. No, I've come over to the idea of him knowing where the prisons are. I think they probably had some inside opportunities. The martial artistry I can even kind of get on board with, but there's still like the lack of rest. So we've been in the pandemic for, what did we decide, like 17 months, give or take, right?
Yes, right.
I still drive like once or twice a week, but I don't know how to drive anymore. So that's been 17 months. Think about that for like, what was it, 14 years? And
14
Shawn, I think that's a you thing.
No, if you don't exercise
I went like
skills.
I went like a year without riding a bike, hopping on my bike, and I was still great at riding a bike with like no hands.
Riding a bike is literally that's like a true muscle memory. But all the habits that you build, and I'm going to hang on to the driving thing, not necessarily because it goes on. It's just the example that I have right now.
Sure.
Or like interacting in public. Like I no longer know how to like behave in public. All these things that I've lost, these sort of habits that you do still have to think about a little bit. It's not like riding a bike is all I'm kind of getting at. That I'm so much worse after 17 months. I think if you multiply that by 10 or whatever, and it's 17 years or 14 years or whatever, I feel like there should be some rest for everybody. For everybody. I feel like the first time that that Pali tries to like shoot out of her head, it should just give her a really bad headache. Like, son of a bitch, that hurts. So, I mean, with better language, but no, for what it's worth, no, I've generally come around, and we can review the season at the end of the season, and I think everybody will be fine with where I'm at on the season as a whole. Those are just, hey, when you got this other podcast over there, just only saying nice things, I'm gonna take it upon myself to be critical in this podcast. I value both of your inputs, and neither of you called me names, so I'm not gonna mute anybody.
My annual contract will be criticizing the criticisms every time I come back. That'll be that.
It's actually reasonable. Hey, just don't read the reimbursement page. I haven't finished that part of the contract yet.
Shawn doesn't get reimbursed either, so whatever money comes from this, I pocket
straight into Chris' pocket, all 10 cents of it. That know what's funny though is I always turn the monetization off in the background when I post these videos to Chris's YouTube, right? So like saboteur, he's not getting,
they really don't
get money from this. Well, the reason we brought on Theo today is because Theo, aside from dealing with my personal fan theories, also has some thoughts on some other fan theories that he brought up specifically wanted to talk about. So if nobody has any objections, I say let's jump into the first fan theory, and Theo's going to walk us through in basically whatever fashion he wants, and that's Sokka's death.
Yeah, and Sokka's death is like, it's a touchy subject. I feel like it's a very emotional subject in the fandom. Like a lot of people in the fandom are very much like they want to know, but they're also, I feel like, afraid of seeing it because he's the glue guy. He's the guy that brings everybody together, makes people feel good. That whole thing. But so in my head, I kind of have sort of a rewrite, and this theory is pretty much, you guys kind of touched on it before, and other people have touched on it before. And it is, I think, the consensus of how everyone feels Sokka did die or should die, and also if I feel like the fandom will be a little upset if it doesn't happen this way. Yeah, I feel like it'll be if it doesn't happen in this format or in this situation, everyone's going to be like, "What the heck? You had a perfect opportunity to take it here and you didn't." So I'm hoping that my rewrite is exactly what happens if and when they see, if and when we see that particular situation, which will be sad to see. But so in episode 9, season 3 of Korra, it's called The Stakeout, this particular episode. And in this episode, there's a particular situation where Korra gets dragged into the spirit world and just ends up having a conversation with Zaheer. So that's where my rewrite starts and also where the theory begins. So first off, we're going to start with the rewrite. What I would not necessarily rewrite, more so additions to the particular season and things I'd like to see. So, and you guys can chime in at any point, but what I would love to have seen prior to this episode is like a Red Lotus background episode, because the conversation that Zaheer has with Korra in this particular scene is him explaining the Red Lotus to her, their objectives, their goals, and what they want to do with her. And it would have been nice if the episode before we had like a young Red Lotus situation where we kind of get to see how, how Pali was rescued from being like a mercenary or something like that, I think she was, and how the Zaheer-Pali relationship began. It would be great to see Unalaq kind of manipulating these younger kids into becoming Red Lotus and teaching them how to do that. It would be great to see that background prior to this big conversation Zaheer has with Korra. So then in that scene, if you watch that scene, it's what's kind of sucky is the only thing that happens is you just see the two of them talking. And it's a longer conversation. You know, the episodes are only 22 minutes long. So what I would love to have seen is during that conversation is there would be a flashback of the Red Lotus attacking the barracks of the White Lotus, where Korra was at the time would have been 3 or 4 years old. Yeah. And we get to see during that flashback Zuko and Korra's dad and Sokka and whoever else defending against this attack. And during the course of this conversation and this flashback, that is where we see Sokka's death, but then they don't address it and they go right back to the rest of the Korra story. That is my rewrite. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, so shout out to Kikachi95, who's a fan artist.
Yes, great fan artist.
Oh yeah, like
awesome.
Great with the Kyoshi stuff.
Yeah.
But they did one where it was like the Kyoshi warriors, Southern Water Tribe people, Sokka and Zuko, like they're all like, we gotta go rescue Aang again. And it's just like it was more like one of those like, all right, this is one last time, let's go do this. Which I love that art, because the art is and one thing, it's similar to the Avatar art style.
Yep.
So I think they're doing a really great job of just kind of continuing on, I guess, the universe in my head of what could have been. Now, with regards to Sokka's death, so I got into it in our last episode that, I would love to see him fight Zaheer. But with his death, I kind of want the fortune teller to be right? So in that episode, the fortune teller, she says, "You'll die of like something self-inflicted." But like,
that's right. She does say that.
I want it to be. I want us to turn a
self-inflicted
very humorous
screams boomerang throw gone bad.
Exactly, Shawn.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump the shark.
No, that's where I'm going. No, you're good.
Okay.
So I want us to take something humorous and turn it to something Oh wait, go. You seem like you really want to jump on something.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm expounding it. This is your idea. This came from you. This is great. But I'm
Keep
expounding
going.
on it. He's never fought airbenders before. I mean, maybe he has at that age. He probably has. There's probably bad airbenders. But let's just, maybe he hasn't fought a lot of airbenders, right? So he throws a boomerang at Zaheer, and Zaheer just whips it back, just like beam
Oh well,
slasher
Zaheer
movie.
wouldn't have been an Airbender.
This would be prior
Oh,
to.
yeah, damn.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was
you're
on
good.
something.
Yep.
Some other Red Lotus airbender? No, nobody was airbenders
No,
yet.
no, there's one.
I knew there was some dissonance in my head.
No, you're fine. But something to that effect, right? Like he would have. Right, so Sokka would throw the boomerang at him.
Mhm.
They will fight and fight and fight. Zaheer, you know how airbenders sort of have this precognition. It's a subset skill that I feel like doesn't get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But they clearly have some type of precognition there. But I feel like Zaheer would already kind of have that, and so he kind of just feels in his gut something coming, which would then support kind of story wise his natural inclination into airbending. So he would like feel the boomerang coming and dodge right out the way, and then hit Sokka in the head, and then it doesn't like cut him or anything, but knocks him out, and then he ends up like falling off, not off a cliff. That's too dark. And so,
Well, he is gonna die. Like, too dark. I don't know.
falling off a cliff is pretty. Like, just imagine just boom, 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 and just.
They don't have to
I'll say
show it.
I'll say he gets hit and then falls awkwardly on a very pokey rock and like breaking his neck and dying. Okay, that sounds even more gruesome.
That's
Yeah, it
pretty.
did. Yeah, it
It's
did.
pretty dark.
Okay, so it was done in this Injustice comic where someone hit this character in the temple
Mhm.
and they got knocked out. That didn't kill him, but what killed him was they got knocked out to a point where they landed on something and they hit their neck and it killed that part killed them.
I like the idea that you mentioned, like a very subtle foreshadowing that, like, I mean, I would never pick up on something like that, but that smarter people like you all could look at that and be like, oh, it's kind of like that precognition thing that airbenders have. That makes a lot of sense. And then
Yeah.
Chris would tell me about it later and be like, hey, that's pretty cool. Very subtle foreshadowing. I like how that would play.
I do like the boomerang idea of him getting hit with the boomerang, but I feel like because Sokka is such a iconic character, it would kind of suck, like he gets hit with a boomerang and then falls and dies, and it's such a it's such a not glorious way to go out. Like you get.
It's not. It would make fans mad.
It would make
have been
fans pretty mad.
Is it
Fans
better
have been
if
mad at
Zaheer,
the show
kicks it
plenty of
back at him
times.
out of the air or something like that? So it's still kind of self-inflicted because it's a boomerang, so like tongue-in-cheek, but Zaheer like kicks it out of midair back at him, like super martial artisty.
Yeah.
Does that make it better?
That
I
makes
want
it
the,
better
I want
to
the
me.
precog. I mean, I still want the little precog.
Well,
thing
that still counts. He feels it coming behind him, right? So
Yeah,
he does like
right.
a
Oh, okay.
spinneroonie airbender kick kind of thing.
I get what you're saying.
Does that?
Okay.
I think that just as opposed to him ducking and Sokka getting hit, I feel like
Gotcha.
Zaheer like pushing it forward as a projectile again makes it better.
That makes it
Okay.
better to me, and then he falls on a rock.
or he pushes Sokka into it, or maneuvers Sokka in a way that it's not that Sokka lost track of the boomerang. Is that Zaheer tracked the boomerang and tracked
Yes.
where he needed to place
Yeah.
Sokka at.
Something
Yeah.
very like high level crafty from Zaheer, but still
Yeah.
self-inflicted because it's the boomerang,
Yes,
which
because
you
he
throw,
threw
it
the
comes back,
boomerang.
yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I like
Yep.
that. That's very, very clever, tongue in cheek, even if it's pretty,
I
sad.
do think he will die. Because
How old would he
So
be
I
at this
will-
point?
so doing the math,
Korra,
Right,
Korra,
so-
Korra's about 4 at this point in
yeah,
time.
she's about 4. Aang died at 66, so then that would put Korra. I mean, that would be 70. But Sokka was 3 years older than Aang, so he would at least have been 73.
Okay, so I think if you die from a face boomerang at 73, that's pretty respectable.
I think so.
In the middle of a serious fight, yeah, I'd say that's fine.
Now, how old is flashing forward a little bit? How old is Zuko in the Red Lotus fights in the TV show?
So Psycho 73, that takes place about 13
Holy
years
smokes,
after
he gotta
that.
be like
So
90.
Zuko's like 87.
Okay.
Is he
Yeah,
Sokka's age?
I guess that makes sense.
He's about Sokka's age. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that makes sense. Wow. So an 87-year-old Zuko is fighting against basically prime Red Lotus.
Yeah.
It's really sobering to think about. It's like the average male life expectancy is what, 73, and us
Yes.
males are all sitting here talking about this 87-year-old man who rides dragons and stuff.
Rides dragons and is fearless in the face of the greatest assassins in the world.
Yeah, no biggie, right? No biggie.
No big deal at all. That's fine. Perfectly fine.
Makes
I keep telling my wife, like, if I make it to 80, I'm good. Like, and, like,
Oh,
I mean, like, it's everything's just a plus after that.
Okay.
I
So
think that's fair.
so what happens after 80?
I mean, it's just like, hey, I'm living on borrowed time now.
You ever seen
just-
Logan's Run?
Nah, I haven't.
Oh,
I have not.
oh, okay. Well, Google
Okay,
Logan's
real quick. I have a hypothetical question for you both. So I used to work at like the Department of Health, and we would do like analysis and stuff over like, oh, if we did this program, how much would we save and stuff like that. So I came up with this question that we would ask like new people all the time, and it says a lot about you. So say if we invented a pill, right?
Mhm.
You take this pill, and you take it at birth. They give it to you, a shot, a pill, or whatever, a pill, and then you'll never get sick. Like it will cure cancer if some cancerous cells got in there, any type of diseases, it will cure them. But you would die at 80, right?
So you get 80 good years is what.
Yeah, you get 80 good
Oh,
years,
yeah.
but
I'd
at
do that in a
80, the
heartbeat.
pill goes away and you die.
Absolutely. Thumbs up. Like 80 guaranteed good years. I
Yeah,
mean, barring
granted,
self-inflicted.
You could still get shot. You
yeah,
can still
of course.
die from a car accident. But really, those are probably like the two.
Well, I don't
It
drive
is.
anymore, so you know.
Yeah, true. So would you?
Sean's not leaving the house.
No, absolutely. I'm going to enjoy my 80 years right here.
So would you take that pill,
Yeah, 100%.
Sean? You would.
I'd have to think about that a little bit more. Maybe there's a potential. I want more than 80. I want to.
So also
maybe
also
get 90.
part of the question was, I think, a second part of the question was, it's mandatory, and like, and because what was the reason for it? Because you save on hospital calls and everything, just
Okay.
as a whole and stuff. Yeah, what was the? Man, I guess it was. I guess we didn't. Wait, never mind. We didn't add the mandatory part. But yeah, I don't know. It was just an interesting thought.
You're just trying to ruffle people's
Process.
feathers with.
I know, right? No.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Going to 80. I would want to hit like 90 just to have the notch under my belt to show off to no one, because at that point I'd have no.
Oh wait,
friends.
I think it was mandatory because
I thought you were going to take that
Because-
really dark, Theo. Instead of the notch on the belt that show no one because all my family and friends are dead. I
Right.
really thought that's where you were going with that.
Pretty close. That was close enough.
Yeah.
I think in that situation it was mandatory because I remember we were saying like, all right, well, no kids will ever get sick.
Mhm.
Like your kids will always, you'll just never have to kind of deal with that. People have to deal with the pain, but yeah, once you turn 80, and then we're talking about like, all right, well then there'll just be a bunch of suicides at like 80 because people just be like, oh well, I'm about to die anyway. Let me just jump out of a plane.
That's really dark stuff.
Yeah, we would get dark. Anyway,
I just for our viewers, if anybody knows who or what Logan's Run is, just to recap, is it's a sci-fi where, and so in my head, because it's been a long time since I saw it, essentially it's like I was thinking, oh, like age 50 or something, they essentially kind of kill people at age 50 and everybody's just kind of okay with it. But then I was looking at the synopsis of the film and it's at age 30 and now I feel very sobered.
Oh, wow.
I don't like it anymore. So I'm gonna drop that
Just-
reference.
I my birthday was last week actually, and I had a very, very weird number.
It's
35.
We're out of landmarks. You got to do the 5s and 0s. I'm sorry, man. Enjoy it. Hey, happy late birthday though.
I celebrated the whole week. I literally hung out with a different group of people each night for 7 days. Yeah.
Awesome.
I partied harder at 35 than I did at 21. So yeah, it is what it is.
That's
I never
awesome.
party hard.
I didn't didn't have any money at 21. I didn't know how to party hard.
True. Good point. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Let's go get
So,
some beer. With what?
Yeah.
All right. What other? So was that the? So yeah. So in that situation, right? Sokka would have been killed by Zaheer by his own doing.
Yes.
Oh wait, who would have stopped Zaheer?
Now that's the continuation here. So in this rewrite that I'm like kind of painting in my head is you get the flashback of that situation given to you in a little bit, right? During that particular, like in a perfect world, if there was forethought from the writers to have placed that little Sokka death scene during that conversation, and if they would have known that Avatar Studios was going to be a thing back then, now granted we have Avatar Studios now, so maybe this could be a thing, but it would be great to then follow that up with, and Chris, you've mentioned this before with the anthology series of shorter stories. We could have a shorter anthology Sokka related thing that shows you the rest of that situation. And in my mind, I see what's Korra's dad's name again?
Tonraq.
Tonraq. In my mind, I see Tonraq being the one that takes down Zaheer and make sure he's arrested or what have you. I don't see Zuko doing it. I think Zuko would be too emotionally compromised.
Was Tenzin there? I'd love it if it was Tenzin.
I would say Tenzin would be.
Just
Tenzin
for the
was definitely
airbending part, again, it's sort of a subtle foreshadowing that if Zaheer was taken down by an airbender, that would be kind of
Oh, you know what? That would be interesting because, although
that'd be his motivation when he's in his cell doing his workout. He's got like a drawn picture of Tenzin scribbled into the ground. He's doing...
he had some infatuation with Tenzin.
There's like a 80s Rocky montage.
The only thing that I wouldn't like about that is that just because there's one line of dialogue that Zaheer gives to Tenzin, right? Because when he meets him, he says, "It's an honor to meet you, like a true airbending master." Like that's a cool line of dialogue because it shows that Zaheer is like very genuine in his appreciation for air nomad culture and what it takes to truly become a master.
Can you repeat the line exactly as he states it?
Well, I don't know. I'm paraphrasing.
I know, but I really want to hear it because that could be really cleverly tied into depending on how he says it. Okay. Like semantically, if he's like, it's really says, like, great to meet you as a true airbending master, but he's like, I'm talking about me.
Oh, no.
The semantics, though. It would matter how he said it.
No, he says, it's an honor to meet you, a true airbending master. Yeah.
That does.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I tried.
Yeah.
But
I could see that being interesting of a Tenzin versus Zaheer fight, and Tenzin would probably easily get the better of him.
Yes.
And along with him and Tonraq defeats him, and then he probably grows a greater appreciation for airbending because he's like Tenzin was able to, like, just the way he moved and everything.
You're right.
And he has such, he could just grow a greater appreciation for it. And in this season, all right, where that would help support the season 3 of why Zaheer is just so good at airbending, why he has such an appreciation for the culture. Like he would have saw what Tenzin did and been like, oh, I want to learn more. Like who else should I look at about airbending masters? Like, oh, this Gorilla Hema character, he was truly free. And then when he meets Tenzin again, he can be like, you were my great inspiration. Like you showed me the real way of airbending, of its freedom and everything. Like you should be with me. Like we're going to change the world. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
right now.
And one thing that I play with in my head though is this. Okay, at this scenario that we're painting, if he gets hit with a boomerang, Sokka does, and then he lands, does he die instantly from after being hit, or does he get taken to a hospital bed? Does Katara get to say her piece, or
I think a 73-year-old guy getting hit in the face by a boomerang. Personally, I would say he just died, but if it makes for a better story, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So if getting into the hospital bed, makes for a more interesting avenue. Let's do it.
Oh, ooh. And then, so Katara is rushing to get there, right? But for some reason, she's behind. I don't know why she's behind. Probably because she's way in the Southern Water Tribe. She's off somewhere else doing something.
Yep.
And then she's been rushing to get there. Because why would Katara not be there, right? Oh, Katara's pretty old at that point.
She's also old. She's also in her 70s.
Yeah, she's also in her 70s. Granted, she'd still be willing to go save Korra.
Well, she'd be healthier, relatively, right? Being healer, waterbender.
Right.
Probably. So she would get there last, but she would get there in time to see Sokka die. I don't need Sokka on his deathbed. I just need Katara at his side of his dead body, and that would be enough, I think.
Regardless if he is conscious or gone.
I think he would have to die pretty instantly.
Yeah. In my head, I can see him, if there's a deathbed situation, I can see Sokka saying some stupid joke before, and maybe fan service would play into that, but he could say I don't know what, but something stupid before he goes. But it would make more sense. I think it would be better if, the boomerang and the rock or however that happens that way, and then you would get the Katara scene after that. So going beyond that, though, one thing I've always wondered, and this is less of a theory and more of a question, is like, so this epic battle of this like Red Lotus thing, it would really just be the four of them. And in my head, Unalaq is the one that gave the four of them the location of where Korra was.
Oh, definitely.
What a jerk.
And he's tasking them with, capturing Korra so that they can breed or train her to be a Red Lotus member eventually. But what's interesting is, okay, so we have these four prime 20-something-year-olds, or how old would they be? Zaheer and
that sounds reasonable.
Probably early 20s, I think.
Early 20s, so they're super prime, and they all have specialty skills. In my head, you have to have a ridiculous amount of White Lotus members. Like it would have to be like an army, essentially, of White Lotus members versus these four people.
They're just fodder. They're just getting
it because the White Lotus from Avatar: The Last Airbender, you have these older guys who are all specialty things, but you can see over this 70 plus years, anybody becomes a White Lotus member who could just remotely bend. just join the crew. The three of us could join and be like, oh yeah, we're White Lotus. Yeah, that's fine. We'll be the bodyguards. So you would have to have like a plethora of White Lotus members that just gets kind of
I don't know if slaughter is the word, but demolished is
yeah.
I like the idea too that if Unalaq gave them the location and he didn't know as much, or he didn't know as much as he think he did, and he's like, all right, you're gonna bring her back to me, so he gives them the location, and they know they're not bringing Korra back. They know they're just gonna kill her or whatever. I kind of like that there would be a double cross that maybe Unalaq would never really know about. That would have happened. That'd be kind of cool.
I like that. Yeah, and then obviously Unalaq cuts ties with all of them, and nobody knows that Unalaq was involved. And then the other big thing with this is Toph cannot be at this battle. She would be the X factor that would make the battle too not one-sided.
Awesome. What?
It was awesome. It was just I want to see the struggle, and I feel like if Toph is there, there's less struggle. If that makes sense. If that makes sense.
I don't know. I mean, Ghazan would give Toph. I thought she can metal bend. Just depends on the location. What the location?
They're in the Southern Water.
They're in the Southern Water Tribe where
Now, to
we
be
see
fair,
Korra
is
in
there a
season
lot
1.
that Toph can use there too, unless they're like right by a mountain or something sticking out? If it's just ice and snow.
But she would. I'm sorry. She would have came with her armor, her police armor, probably.
That was stupid of me. Yeah, good point.
I won't say snap.
No, it totally was. She probably, at least she got like a rock necklace or something, just.
Yeah.
Like a Kuvira type thing. But I think Toph not being there, from even a character standpoint, I think kind of even makes sense.
I mean, she's been on her own spiritual journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she went, like even Yahweh said that she went off and had a spiritual quest. At least that's what she told them.
Right. Yeah. So then your core four is Tenzin, Tonraq, Zuko, and Sokka, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a crap ton of pawns
Yeah.
who kind of get dealt with. Which also, but at the same time, that's how the four Red Lotus members get arrested, because just numbers, too many people. But the four of them could really take down everybody. And maybe the fight at that point, once Sokka dies, that's kind of where everyone goes beast mode, and it's like, okay, all right.
Zuko unleashes lightning for the first time.
Right. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like he gets.
They could be
all those Zuka fans would be like, see, he did lightning because he lost Sokka. It awakened his.
Or he like rides his dragon and does like a whole Daenerys Targaryen thing where he's just leveling the whole battlefield with the dragon's fire.
I like that idea. That would be kind of cool to see.
I'm a dragon kind of guy. I'd watch it.
In
for
Avatar.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little dark for Avatar again. Just people like dying from being on fire. It might not fit the age range we're looking for here, but
Right.
but in here, it's awesome.
So like in my mind, I would love to see like that type of situation where Sokka kind of goes not early in the fight, but he's kind of done for, as the Red Lotus is really like about to take the situation, and then everyone's like, nope, okay, that our chief is gone. They're not. That's switch it over, and Tonraq goes crazy. Zuko, he'll be emotionally compromised, but he can go full like Super Saiyan.
I wouldn't. So if they did this in Avatar Studios, I mean,
Right.
it'll definitely be a retcon, because it'll be a soft retcon. It wouldn't contradict anything, but it would. Well, okay, some of this will contradict me, but just the fact that if Sokka died in this battle, it wouldn't contradict anything, but it'll be like, well, why didn't they bring this up? I don't know if I would mind this retcon, because things get retconned all the time, and I'm
Is there any point at which they express like not knowing when he died? Is that the part that you're saying?
no one?
Because if it's never brought up, does it really count as a retcon?
Well, where is the retcon?
No, it wouldn't. It would be a slight retcon in my head, because they didn't bring it up. Like when Tenzin and
like he
Tenzin
wasn't
telling
included
Korra,
in the stories that they were telling.
Yeah, he wasn't
about
included
it.
in the story that they were telling Korra,
Okay.
and Zaheer didn't tell him and was telling Korra.
Maybe he was like secretly, tactically trying to get there, and this little Zaheer fight dies before he makes it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little side fight. He thought he had a plan, and Zaheer had him outsmarted, and so they end up in like a one-on-one thing. That kind of ruins what Theo was just suggesting, though. So maybe that's not a good idea.
It'll just be a slight retcon, like I said. And I was saying that I wouldn't mind it, because it wouldn't necessarily contradict anything. I hate those retcons that contradict stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I don't want any time travel messes in Avatar. I don't want that.
No, it'll be fine. And like I said, no one has ever. The information on Sokka's death is nothing. We just know that he died. We know that he was at least 73 when he died. He could have died a day before Aang. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
So, or a day after. At any point until Katara says, "My brother's gone. My friends are gone." He could have died at any point up to that.
Right. Yeah. But the scenario we just laid out, in my mind, if Avatar Studios doesn't do this, I frankly will be disappointed, to be honest with you.
I kind of doubt they would, because
Shawn
Mike and Bryan seems like the type to like not want to revisit stories all that often. They seem so
True.
content on what they create,
True.
even if they don't love it. Like they crap on themselves like way more than a certain podcast does.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's say crap on themselves, but they're just like, yeah, this was tough. Like, I kind of hated this and stuff. And for some reason, I get the gist from them that they don't care to revisit things. They just want to create things, put it out there in the universe.
Artistically, you kind of want your blank slate, right?
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
Although I do think they're going to be more open, I think, to handing over some creative responsibilities to other people, and maybe those people have a really good idea up their sleeves that will get the blessing of Mike and Bryan.
Right. And going into Avatar Studios, it would be nice to see either Mike and Bryan or, other creative people play with the Red Lotus thing, because I want to see Avatar Studios like really dig into the lore of the Red Lotus, because there has to be more than just Unalaq, and I mean there has to be some. Isn't there a story that's right? There's a story that Zaheer tells of the first Red Lotus member.
Yeah, and it's elaborate on a little bit in the Legacy of the Fire Nation book that Iroh writes to Zuko. He talks about the Red Lotus in his little memoir when he's talking about the White Lotus. And he mentions the actual person's name who was the first to defect from the White Lotus and create the Red Lotus.
Yep. And Avatar Studios we should see that whole situation go down, how that happens, and make sure that there's like a through line all the way up until what we see in Korra. That would be great. And one thing I'd like to see from Avatar Studios for sure, just kind of switching gears just a little bit, but it's Zaheer related, is Guru Lahima. Who was this guy? Who was this guy? Right? Like, in my head, I feel like there's moments in the lore of Avatar where you have these. This sounds really a stupid term. Super benders, like kind of like Ghazan. Like he's like a super bender of these situations. And I feel like Guru Lahima is one of these guys that could go toe to toe with his one specialty bending against an Avatar one-on-one potentially. And I'd like to see Avatar Studios kind of delve into that, and maybe that could be a foundation piece of Red Lotus. Yeah.
So we've got 5 minutes remaining on our call time, and that's about the length of time we wanted to chat today. But within the next couple minutes here, Theo, any final thoughts or additional theories on Red Lotus past or entry into Red Lotus that you care to touch on real quick before we wrap up?
I just the only thing is the core 4 Red Lotus members that we see. I don't really have any theories. I just have hopes. I want to see. I just want to hope that we can get something that is kind of what I see in my head. Just a little bit of them younger, them being joyful kids, like regular, cool, kind of like our core,
slightly rebellious college age.
Yeah, and they're nice people, And
I would be the most interested in seeing Pali, just because she gave a hint into her backstory.
Yeah,
hers would probably be the most harshest,
be the scariest one for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And then how did Minghua lose her arms, or was she born that way?
She was born with no arms.
She was born with no arms. Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you fall in the Ghazan as a construction worker theory? Where are you at on that one? No,
he's absolutely a construction worker.
It's the only explanation. Well, hey, that being said, Theo, thank you so much for bringing up these theories.
Theo.
Theories.
Yeah, it's a new one.
I've been waiting. I decided to hold it till the end of the episode. But
There you
hey,
go.
we really appreciate you bringing this up and joining us for this episode. It's always nice to break one off and get to dig a little bit deeper with people who think about this stuff in way more depth and detail than I do personally. So, hey, thanks for bringing a fresh perspective. We really appreciate it. And I will be sure to put your any Twitter contact or whatever information you want that you tell me down in the descriptions. So
Sounds
check
good.
down there if you want to reach out to Theo about his thoughts, or otherwise he'll be active in the video comments, I'm sure, as well.
This is true.
And Chris, final thoughts on your side?
No. Thank you, Theo. Good conversation.
You're welcome.
That's a great final thought. That's a great final thought. And yeah, thank you so much for me as well. This has been Avatar: The Last Podcaster's one-off episode to talk about some fan theories with our guest, Theo Brown. We appreciate you as always. I'll put lots of contact information for everybody down in the description, and we hope you'll check back in next week. Thank you guys so much.